So we're going to transition to our time of teaching, and we're going to start a new series today that we're calling Using God's Gifts to Me. And today we're going to be talking about using our time wisely. So let me set this up, though, because as we begin, I want you to understand something. I am not a time management guru, okay? That is not me. I am not writing a time management book or anything in that regard, okay? So I'm just going to state that very clear. But it took me a long time to understand that God created me a certain way. I read recently that there's an NFL player who schedules his day literally 10 minutes at a time. I can't do that. That's not me. Some people need that to function. Some people are the crumpled paper in the back of the drawer, find it later kind of people, right? And so the simple idea of having a calendar freaks you out, right? But we're all created just a little bit differently. And it took me a long time to understand and accept the fact that I am not wired to have the high every 10-minute increment planned out. A colleague of mine is known to leave himself a Post-it note to remind himself of a Post-it note to remind himself of the scheduled meeting he had. Like, he is hyper-organized. Another colleague of mine, I don't understand sometimes how he gets anything done, because I look at it as like he seems to be random. Now, he's not, but that's what it looks like from the outside. But all of this to say that God created you just the way you are. And we're all given the same amount of time in a day. We're all given time. And how we manage, how we work with that time is going to be different for all of us. There's a popular musical called Rent. Some of you may have heard of it. And there's a song called Seasons of Love. And in there, one of the opening lines is 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the days in a year? See, we're all given a certain amount of time. There's certain 24 hours in a day, 6 days in a week. What are we going to do with it? Novelist and poet Walter Scott once said this: "Do you love life? Then do not squander time, for it is the stuff that life is made of." See, I think there's an important fact to understand about time. One that took me quite a while to figure it out. And once I did, it changed a whole bunch of things. But here's the most important fact I think we can understand with time. Time is a gift. That is the most important fact that we can understand about time, that time is a gift. It's something to be treasured. It's something to be used for God's glory. See, the truth is that every second of life we are given, that you're given, that I'm given, is a gift from God. And if you could take one step in the direction this morning of understanding that our time is a gift from God, and I'm going to use it on purpose for God, then that will be a successful morning. If we take just one step closer to understanding the gift that we have and that we're grateful for the time that we have been given, that gift, it'll make a difference in our world, and it'll make a difference in your life. So we're going to begin, and as we talk about this series, we're going to look at different gifts that we're given. And as we do, I want to ask you a question. Humor me on this, but the question is this: do you think God is stingy? Now, the Sunday school answer is what? No, God is not stingy. But if you're anything like me, I know I have, and maybe you have at some point, we would say, God, you're really good. You're pretty awesome. But I think you're kind of stingy. Here's what I mean. We might say, you know what, God, if only I had a little more time, then I could. God, if only I had a little bit more money. Okay, a lot more money. Then I could. God, if only I had a different gift set, only if I had different talents, only if I could do something like that, then I could. God, why are you so stingy? We don't necessarily say it out loud, but there's something that maybe in the back of our minds as we go through this, we think about. See, here's the deal. Only in America, I think, that we can be surrounded by so much and still think it's not enough. God has given us everything we absolutely need. It's not about having more. It's learning to value what you have. John 1:16 says it like this: we all live off his generous bounty, gift after gift after gift. That's what he does in our lives. Not that we don't have problems. Not that we don't have hard days, not that there aren't seasons where we go without or we're lacking in something. I get that. None of us are perfect and put together, but everything that we have is a gift from God, and they keep coming, gift after gift and after gift for all of us. Jesus said it this way in Matthew 5. This is what God does. He gives his best, the sun to warm and the rain to nourish, to everyone regardless, the good and the bad. That's what God does for us. Everybody gets the gift of time. Everybody gets the time that we have on this earth, the talents that we are given, the resources that we have. We all have these gifts. The question is, how are we going to use these gifts in the time on this earth? Do we just use them for ourselves selfishly, or are we going to allow God to use our time, talents, and gifts for other people as well? And are we going to, I truly believe, find true and purposeful enjoyment in life? Psalm 116:12 says this, what can I give the Lord for all the good things he has given to me? That's a question we're going to try to answer, we're going to look at today. What can I give to the Lord? Give back to him the fact that he has given me this gift of time, right? So we're going to work backwards. I'm going to give you a statement, but I'm not going to give you the full statement until the end. So we're going to kind of work into this statement, and we're going to see some ideas on how we can recognize time as a gift, okay? So we're going to start with this. If I'm going to use my time as a gift, it starts with the right plan. It starts with the right plan. You see, to do something effectively, you have to have a plan. The Golden Gate Bridge was built over a period of 4.5 years. Now, that was just the building time. That was just construction. Here, over 80 years earlier, or 68 years earlier, the first idea of the bridge was brought up. And then after that, it was tabled, but then it was brought up again in 1916, But due to World War I, it was put on hold. But after that, they started pursuing it. The idea of the bridge came a reality, and people started doing surveys and studies. They started bringing in access roads, raising money, doing all of these things until they finally got to the start date of January 5th, 1933, where construction actually started on the bridge. And over 4.5 years, on April 19th, 1937, it was up and running. Now, there have been updates, obviously, construction and maintenance and bringing it up to snuff, the heavier vehicles, all of that. We understand that. But for the last 81 years, the Golden Gate Bridge has been used every single day. And it's because there was a plan. It wasn't haphazardly thrown together. It says, some guy or gal says, hey, we need a bridge. Sure. You know, it's like those little toothpick bridges you make in shop class. You know, mine didn't last very long. But it wasn't haphazard. They took years and years to plan this bridge. It had to be planned to be effective. Look what it says in Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to make the most of our time so that we may grow in wisdom. Time management is where we spend most of our time. We all have the set number of hours in a day. How are we going to be the most effective using our time? I've got to get this done. I got to get this done. Got to get the kids here. Got to get this, blah, 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 right? And that's what we feel like. How are we going to do it? We all have the same amount of time. And there's hundreds, maybe thousands and thousands of books written on how to be more effective with your time. I have a couple. You might have one. I don't know. You know, the ironic thing is, though, I haven't taken the time to read most of them. Yeah, but we have them, right? But because it tells us that this is a big need in our lives. We're trying to figure out how to use the time to the most efficient way possible. But I think all of these thousands and thousands of books miss the point. See, our time is a gift from God and is given to us. 24 hours is quite enough time to accomplish the thing that God wants us to accomplish. In the military, a soldier is given this lovely meal in a bag. It is called an MRE. This one is the brisket entree, gravy with seasoned beef brisket slices. You're not ordering this at the restaurant. But in here is everything somebody would need to eat. And in theory, It'll sustain you for an entire day. That's how many calories are here. But in here, that gives you everything. And a lot of times they give you a lot of wasted space. Okay? They give you seasonings. They give you stuff like this, Irish cream instant powder. A lot of them have Tabasco sauce. The point is, if a soldier's going to the field, what they do is they take this and they do what is called a field strip. They start taking it apart and they take out the things that are not useful. Gum, beverage-based lemonade, right? Yeah, I know. It's delicious. But here's the deal. The whole goal, so the field strip, they'll take out all the unnecessary things to make it as light and efficient as possible. Because when they're going in the field, they're carrying a whole bunch of stuff, and they can't worry about taste. They can't worry about if I have my bubble gum. They need food. So they're going to field strip it to the bare bones essentials. And I think oftentimes, as I was thinking of this, that's what we do with our schedules. We'll field strip our schedules to the point to be the most efficient possible. We'll sacrifice our health. We'll sacrifice our relationships. We'll sacrifice our faith, all to be more efficient and get things done. And it breaks me. It breaks my heart to think that, because I do that all the time. But we are like a moth drawn to a bug light with these books, because we're trying to figure out how to maximize the time that we have to be the most efficient. We try to keep up with the struggles, the pressures of life, of work, of family, and all this stuff. And somebody put it like this: we are the victims of the triple time whammy. Triple time whammy. It says this, we're frustrated because we're not getting enough done. We feel guilty because we're not doing the right thing. We want to spend more time with family, friends, vacation, doing this stuff. And then we feel anxious about the fact that we'll never accomplish the goals we want to. So this cycle, this circle that we've got with our time wells up in us, and we can't break that cycle. We struggle with it constantly. The problem is we need a plan. Okay, we need to be able to plan accordingly. It includes scheduling. It includes maintaining that. But let me go back to the fact that I'm not a time management guru. So go pick up a book. Okay? We're not going to spend a lot of time on that. What I want to do is turn your attention to something in the Bible called the Ten Commandments. And there's a commandment in there that talks specifically about this. And we're going to focus on what that is. Because, see, the Ten Commandments gives us 10 great things. It's like the top 10. Somebody should write a book, right? Top 10. And in there, it says, keep the Sabbath day. Make it holy. Take a day off. Some of you are like, what's that? Take a day and rest. God created it. God designed it. God gave us the example. He says, I worked for 6 days creating everything you're busy doing, and I took a day off. Take a day and rest. Take a day and rest. We can do all of this stuff, and study after study after study has shown the benefits for our physical, spiritual, and mental health when we rest. Science is proving what God has already demonstrated to us, right? So within every point, I want to give you a key decision. With every point, I want to give you a key decision that you can intentionally make. So the key decision on this one, I will rest. I will rest. See, the surprising thing is the most important thing we probably should be doing, typically we don't do. Now, I know it's hard to believe, but I am not a bodybuilder. I'm sorry if I crushed your spirits on that, but I'm not. But I should get some exercise. So inside here, Pastor Nathan and I joined this community weight loss thing. I was waiting because First Service laughed at me. So we joined this community weight loss thing. Now, exercise has not been something that I've placed a high priority on. I know that's hard to believe. But I need to. I have felt it. I turned 41 this month. Some of you say, that's a baby. Some of you are saying, you're a really old man. But the reality is, there's a priority that I haven't placed in my life. Rest. Taking time is something that our bodies, our minds, and our spirits were designed to have. And we don't place the priority on that. Look what Psalms 127 verse 2 says. It's useless to rise early and go to bed late and work your worried fingers to the bone. Don't you know? That should be encouraging. You should know this. We should know this. I should know this, but I don't. He enjoys giving rest to those he loves. He enjoys it. When my kids were younger and babies and tolerable, no, just kidding. When they were young, they woke up and it was like go, right? Right out the gate, they were go. It was my daughter stopped napping at around 1 or 2, so it was like marathon from the beginning, right? And it was just go. But there was a point I lay them down, I'm exhausted, and then they finally fall asleep, and you look at them. They look so peaceful. I love that. I love that feeling. Now my daughter's just everywhere, but they look so peaceful. And I envision that's what God's doing. It's like, look at them. They're so tired. They're so busy, but they look so peaceful. And I don't know the whole reason why God has designed our bodies and minds to rest. I don't. But I do know one reason, and I think it's to remind myself that God's got it. That I can't control everything. You see, when I'm resting, when I'm sleeping, when I'm in that cycle, God's still working. God doesn't stop. I cannot control everything in my life. The reality is, a wise person once told me, it says, look, if it's a problem today, it'll still be a problem tomorrow. Get some rest. God is always working. And resting, sleeping, reminds me that he is there and he is God. Exodus 34. You must work for 6 days, but on the 7th day you must rest. Hey, farmers, pay attention. Even during planting season and harvest season. No, I'm kidding. That doesn't just apply for farmers. That's all of us. It's during the busiest seasons of our lives that we need to rest. We must take time to slow down, even during the craziness of planting and harvesting. We understand that. That should be real to us. Our whole economy is driven by that. And so what do we do? During busy times in our lives, I can't rest right now. I've got too much to do. I can't do it, right? And I can't do it. I can't slow down. I can't stop. But you ever notice something? Go, 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 go. Not slowing down, not resting. You get into what is called the law of diminishing returns. You ever heard of that? The law of diminishing return tells us that you work harder and harder and harder, go faster and faster and faster, and you get less and less results. That's the law of diminishing return. When you get no rest and you work that much harder. Now, is there going to be weeks where you can't take a day off? Absolutely. We get that. We all do that. We have emergencies. We have life. We get it. But when it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, on and on and on, now we're creating unhealthy habits for ourselves. Our bodies, our minds, and our connection with God is not where it should be. And we need to make sure we take time to stop and rest. Now, let me give you full disclosure here. Us pastors are some of the worst violators of this commandment. I gotta be honest with you. So many pastors I know don't understand what it means to take a day off or take a vacation. So we're teaching the Word of God and we're not obeying the Word of God. Okay, for what it's worth. But that's how God made us, maybe, right? We are made to rest. For some of you 10-minute increment people, schedule it into your day. Just write it down. Schedule it into your day. Go take a nap. Not right now, but go take a nap, right? Just rest. Slow yourself down. You can have a great schedule. You can rest faithfully. You can do all this stuff. But here's the next idea. Using my time as a gift. It takes the right perspective as well as the right plan. We can have the greatest plan. We can get it all right. But if we don't have the right perspective, we're not going to get it. I would read these books. I'd go to these conferences. I'd watch these videos. And I'd be confused and I'd be frustrated when I'd leave. I'd spend this money and I wouldn't understand it. See, here's somebody that's saying, look, you got to focus on this one thing. Give it your full attention. Just go all out. Over here, this person's saying, you got to be flexible. Which one is it? Right? And I become so frustrated. The other one is like, look, you got to have goals. You got to set your goal. You got to set your objective. What are you going to do? Over here, somebody, just leave it in God's hands. I get so frustrated. I'm like, which one is it? Is it this? Is it that? And I get just spin in circles. And then something happened, and it dawned on me that God is about balance. God is not the extreme one or the other. God is about balance. He works all things in balance. He did this in our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. He also worked it in nature. And farmers, you understand this too. Look what it says in Ecclesiastes 3. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. Did you know that was in the Bible before the Beatles sang it? Every season. There is a season for everything. I'm not a farmer, but I understand now's not the time to plant. Your body, your mind, and your heart, there are seasons. You've got to have a right perspective on everything. There's a time for everything different. So here's the key decision. I will have balance in my life. I will have balance in my life. All right, so let's talk about that work-rest balance. That's a hard one, right? We figure out, how am I supposed to do all of this stuff? Now, there's a warning for us here. And the warning for us is this. We have this love-hate relationship with busyness, right? We have to acknowledge the fact that we have this love-hate relationship with busyness. I hate being so busy. I have no time to myself. I can't be with my kids. I can't be with my friends. I can't get my work done. I hate being so busy. But we love being busy because being busy makes us feel important. Busy people are important people. Important people are busy people. We love to feel important. Who doesn't? All of us like to feel necessary. All of us like to feel valued and used. But the problem is we idolize busyness. You ever talk with somebody in passing or something in the store or even at church? Hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm so busy. We idolize busyness. Okay? So that's our caution. We've got to understand that love-hate relationship with busyness. But let me tell you something and hopefully encourage you on this. Your busyness doesn't matter to God. You are important to God regardless of how busy you are. It doesn't matter. You could have the worst week ever and get nothing accomplished. I've had several of them. I go home at the end of the week and Jess goes, "How was your week?" I have no idea. I got nothing done. I mean, we have those weeks, don't we? We have like those months. Or as friends say, those days, those weeks, those months, even a year. We have them. But here's the deal. If our identity, if our value is found in our busyness, or our value is found in what other people view how we use our time, we don't understand that God thinks you're important regardless of your busyness. God loves you, and you are so important to him, regardless of how busy you are. The truth is, busyness or laziness, it's on the same spectrum. They're just on the opposite ends. They're both selfish. Busyness says, my time is my own. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to do it as hard as I want, as fast as I want, and do whatever I can. Laziness says, my time is my own. I'm not going to do nothing. But God says it's in the middle. God is about balance. Time is a gift from God, and it's how we use it. So one thing we need to figure out is the balance between time and relationships, schedules and relationships. We can't always schedule a relationship, can we? Guys, we want to. Listen to me on this. Yeah, I got to talk to my wife. Honey, 8 o'clock to 8:05, we're going to talk. I guarantee you, just schedule it till 11, the rest of the argument, right? We can't schedule relationships. Relationships are kind of messy. Relationships just kind of spill everywhere. They just happen right? They kind of go into every little thing. Now get me wrong, that sometimes you just got to buckle down. You've got to get things done. We all understand that, right? Can we just acknowledge that? There are times and seasons in our life where we just have to get things done. But let's also understand that there's times where it's like, I need to set this aside. We should probably figure this out, shouldn't we? That works in our marriages, in our dating, in our friendships, in our parental conversations, everything. We got to set aside time to be flexible, right? There's balance. There's balance between discipline and flexibility. You have to be disciplined to get it done, but schedule flexibility. James 4 teaches us about this. There's some people talking to James, and they're saying these things. Says, hey, James, this is what we're going to do. And they've got their 10-minute notepads ready. We're going to go to this town. We're going to build this business. We're going to raise a bunch of money, and that's what God called us to do. We're going to go do it. And James says, whoa, slow down. And he sends them a response. This is what he says in James chapter 4. You don't even know what your life tomorrow will be. You are like a puff of smoke which appears for a moment and then disappears. What you should say is this: if the Lord is willing, we will live and do this or that. I love the balance. There is absolute balance there. He doesn't say, look, don't make any plans. Whatever will be, will be. He doesn't say that. But he also doesn't say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Let's plan it all out. It's a balance. He says, we're going to make our plans. We're going to figure it out. And if that's what God wills, and that's what we're going to do. It's about a balance in life. Jesus knew this balance better than anybody. Jesus was an incredibly busy man. And some of you may wonder, like, how busy could he be? I mean, way back then, they didn't have the distractions of life. How busy could he really be? Well, give you a perspective. He had 3 years to change all of eternity, so he had a lot to do in a short amount of time, right? So he's a busy guy. And one of these busy scenarios, one of these busy times, he's out and he's teaching and he's healing and people are coming to him. But to literally get away from people, he had to get on a boat and go to the middle of the sea. You ever feel like that? Yeah, there should be a lot of amens on that one. Like, just to get away, Jesus had to go into the middle of the sea. He was surrounded by people nonstop. He was so incredibly busy, it puts our schedules to shame. But there's one situation where he's teaching and healing and talking with people. And these moms come in and they bring their kids. And the disciples are feeling pretty important. They look like, oh, no, not today. And they see it, and it's like, hey, look, Jesus has to do a bunch of teaching. He's healing people. People are vying for his time. We don't have time for children. And Jesus says, no, just wait. Bring the kids. Bring the kids. He had a balance, and he understood it perfectly. The world and the disciples didn't understand what was important at the time. Jesus understood it. Jesus understood flexibility and purpose. Look, he came into these interactions with these kids, these people who needed to be healed. He was available. He was flexible enough to be available. But he never lost sight of his purpose and mission from God, which is to restore the relationship of humankind with God. He was on point, never wavered, but he was flexible enough to be in there. He was the perfect example of balance. All right, so here's the full sentence. It's probably a clunky sentence, but it's my sentence. Using my time as a gift takes the right purpose with the right perspective and the right plan. Look, you can have a great attitude. You can have a great perspective on things. You can have the most amazing plan in the world. But if you don't have a purpose, if you're not pursuing the right thing, it doesn't matter. What's the use? If I start to run a race and the direction is that way, and I turn and run that way, I'm not going to reach my goal very quickly. It's a complete opposite direction. And the faster and further I run, the further I get away from my goal. Many of us are doing just that. There's a purpose God designed you for, created you for, but you've been running so hard in the opposite direction, you're not even sure where it is anymore. And so what do? we're so busy, we've got all of these things, and we're already on the course, and it's hard to turn around, but that's the direction we're going. So what do? Well, we run faster, right? Because clearly, if I work that much harder, if I do that much more, I'm going to reach my objective, right? But you're still going in the wrong direction. So let me invite you to do something. And for those 10-minute increment people, this is going to freak you out. Let me invite you to do something. Stop. Just stop. Take a breath. Find out what that purpose is. Find out, am I going in the direction God has asked me to go? Is this the direction God has called me to? We are so busy and so focused on life that we're not even in the right direction. Proverbs 19, verse 21 says this: we humans keep brainstorming options and plans, but God's purpose prevails. Look, you're going to have a lot of really good ideas about a lot of things, but in the end, God's purpose is what is going to last. It's what's going to win over. And I want to hook my hat, I want to hook my life on something that's going to last, to make a meaningful, lifelong impression. And there's a big question. When we talk about the management of time, when we talk about the purpose of our lives being focused on God, there's a question I want us to ask. The question is this: God, what do you want me to do with my life today? And again, some of you are thinking, look, I've got a plan 3 years down the road. You can't ask me what to do today. May I lovingly say, maybe you're running too hard in the opposite direction, and you haven't taken the time to ask God what he wants out of you. God, what do you want in my life today? There's a great movie called Chariots of Fire. It's based on the story of Eric Liddell. Some of you heard of him. He's an Olympic runner, won the race in the Olympics. He actually went on to be a missionary in China, and he knew his purpose. And in this movie, there's a statement that he made that became very popular. It says this: God made me for a purpose, but he also made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. That's a guy who enjoyed God's purpose for his life, who truly embraced it, who truly understood it, that it was much more than the race. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but not many of us in this room are going to be an Olympic athlete. I know, it's hard to believe, but we're not. Now look, we all like applause. We all like to receive kudos for a job well done. I get it. And who wouldn't like to win a gold medal? But Eric Liddell understood that the ultimate goal, the ultimate purpose and prize was not in that medal. It was a tool that he used to fulfill the purpose God had for him. So what lasts when we stand before God? What is going to last when we stand before him? And God asks us how we use the gift of time he has been given us. What is going to last? I want to stand before him and I want to say, God, I followed your purpose. And I want to run as hard as I can in that direction. I don't want to get to the point of the end of my life and say I was running in the wrong direction. I want him to look at me and say, you did it. You did it. Boy, it was hard at times, wasn't it? Boy, you really wanted to compromise. Boy, you really wanted to pursue the other things. You wanted to pursue the promotions or job or family, whatever. You wanted to pursue everything on earth. It's really good stuff. Trust me, I made it. But you pursued your purpose. Good job. You did it. That's what I want to hang my hat on. And there's a lot of people who ignore God's purpose in their life. They say, I don't have time for God's purpose. So we're going to run after everything else. We're going to pursue everything else that can provide us fulfillment, but we're going to be disappointed in the end because it's not going to last. It's not going to provide the true fulfillment that we have. There's a study done about people who are close to the end of their life, and it was those things that people want others to know or what they wish they knew. Their top 5 things that they came up with. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with friends. I wish that I had let myself be happier. There's a lot of people who, instead of ignoring God's purpose, are just going to put it on the shelf. Say, I know what it is, but I don't have time for it right now. Maybe when I graduate, maybe when my kids graduate, maybe when I retire, right? Maybe. So we ignore God's purpose. We know what it is, but we try to cram this little thing like God's purpose into our already busy schedule. We try to take God and cram him into our life, and it just spills everywhere. It makes a mess. Instead, God is saying, look, take my purpose and surround your life around it. Don't try to surround me and squeeze me into your schedule. Take your schedule starting with me, starting with my purpose for your life, and fill your schedule around that. But how do we do that? Where do we begin? Matthew 6 says this, start here. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. Just start with that. Clear the desk, clear the schedule. Start with Jesus. That's huge. How do you get your arms around that? How do you even begin that? Here's the key decision we can make with this. Make a practical step. Just make a practical step. We are starting our life group soon. We have a newcomer lunch coming up. We're working on creating these classes of connecting people and learning and growing together. Get together with one of those. See, there's beauty and there's knowledge in getting together with people who are on the same track and the same purpose as you. That's how we can help discover that purpose. Seeing you experience God's purpose in your life is so much more important than us having 100 people in a life group. It's more important that you connect with Jesus and have a purpose. Psalm 31:15 says this, hour by hour I place my days in your hands. That's where it starts. With as little or as much, whatever you have, you take it and give it to God. You start there. It's about living for his purpose. Psalm 18 verse 20 says, God made my life complete when I placed all the pieces before him. We surround our life around God's purpose, no matter how many pieces or little pieces we have, and then watch what God does. Look at what it says in Ephesians chapter 1. This plan, which God will complete when the time is right, is to bring all creation together, everything in heaven, with Christ as the head. See, it already starts there. The purpose starts with Jesus. It starts with God's Son, Jesus. That's where your purpose is. It can sound complicated. It shouldn't. It's very simple. It means you center your life on Jesus. There it is. When you center your life on Jesus, that's where God's purpose for your life begins. We don't have to overcomplicate it. So maybe on your connection card, you take it out, or your notes, and you write yourself a note that says, I will. I will view my time as a gift. I will view my time as a gift given by God for the purpose of him. Maybe today you've never made that commitment to Jesus. Maybe you've never said, Jesus, I don't even know what this looks like, but I've tried. I've been running really, really hard, but there's something in me that's telling me it's not right. Maybe today's the day where you said, Jesus, I want to follow you. I want to understand what my purpose is in life, and it's going to start with you. All you do is, Jesus, come into my life, I follow you. And maybe you take that connection card, that bulletin, and make yourself a note. I guarantee you're going to forget it. I guess what? I already forgot something today. We had our kids for communion, and I forgot to let them go. And I even wrote it down. We forget things. Don't forget to write things down. God has a purpose for you. Would you pray with me? Oh, God, I have... Even today, I'm thinking about my schedule, and my wife's not here, and I've got the kids, and I've got a lot going on, and we've got a memorial service, and there's so many things happening, and I'm trying to figure out how to squeeze it all into my day. God, help me shift that thinking to understanding the value of putting my purpose into you and creating that plan that focuses on you. Jesus, some of us have been running really, really, really hard, and we've been running really hard, maybe in the wrong direction, because we've been trying to fill whatever it is in our life with the stuff, with the promotions, with the job, with a happy family, with whatever it is. God, shift our minds. Help us to turn around, to maybe stop, take a breath, and ask ourselves what you want from me today. Help me to slow down, to see you, to hear you, to acknowledge and accept you. God, I hear the sound of children above us, and they've got their whole life ahead of them. We tend to be closer to the time where we're going to start thinking of these top 5 things. They've got their whole life ahead of them. Help us as parents, as friends, as uncles, as teachers, to help them understand their purpose. And their purpose should start with you. And their purpose starting with you starts with us as their parent, as their uncle, as their friend, as their teacher. Help us to so direct and guide our lives and center it on you, the creator of time. So Jesus, we give you our time because you already gave it to us as a gift. Father, it's in your name. We love you. No matter what that looks like, maybe we're figuring you out. It's in your name we give you it this morning.